Boys and girls, we are going to learn about realistic fiction today, and we're going to start with your reading notebooks. I'm going to give you a chance, 2 minutes, to get your reading notebook, and if that's not enough time, you can always pause this video and watch it and start it whenever you're ready. So I'll give you 2 minutes to get your reading notebook. If you're already back, you can go ahead and open up your notebook to the next clean page. The next clean page. All right. Well, I hope you're back. And remember, if you're not back yet and you're not ready to move on, you can pause this video. Okay. So we have our reading notebook open up to the next clean page. Okay. And today's date is August 25th, 2020. And that's the long date. And we like it to sit right there on the line. And the short date is 8-25. 20 because August is the 8th month of the year. And like I said, today we're going to be learning and talking about realistic fiction. So let's write that at the top and underline it. You've probably heard of realistic fiction in kindergarten, first or second grade. And realistic fiction is a story using made up characters, but it could, but underline could, that's an important word. It could actually happen. And I'm going to give you a second to write that. It could actually happen in real life. I'm going to put a bullet up here, boys and girls. Whenever you're taking notes, if you use different features to organize your notes, it makes it easier to read later. That little dot there is called a bullet. I'll give you just a minute to write that. Junie B. Jones is a good example of realistic fiction. I'm sure you've heard or read a Junie B. Jones book. Those are stories. Junie B. Jones is a made-up character, but those things could actually happen in real life. And some characteristics of realistic fiction is that it might actually happen. The story has a believable problem? And I spelled believable wrong, boys and girls. Hello. Wake up, Mrs. Marlin. There we go. The pictures match the story. The setting is real. Oops. And the author writes about the characters. Now I'm going to give you a minute to catch up. And again, if you're not ready to move on in a minute, you can pause now and finish your notes. Those are all the notes we're going to take today. Okay, now I have a story I'm going to read to you. It is realistic fiction. If you're not ready for that, pause now and you can finish your notes. Okay? If you are ready for that, I know it's upside down. I'm going to flip it. If you are ready for that, you are going to move on. And we're going to read a story called David Goes to School by David Shannon. And I love these David books. Maybe you've heard this story, maybe you haven't. If you haven't heard this story, you've probably heard the story No David. That was David Shannon's first book that he wrote in this series, and it became really popular. One thing I love about David Shannon books is he hides a picture of his dog in every book he writes. A lot of authors will do kind of quirky little things like that, and that's something he does. He hides pictures of his dog. He has a little white Schnauzer dog. I think that's how you say it. And he hides it in a picture of his dog in every book. So we'll look for it when we're reading it. As we're reading David Goes to School, I want you to think how this is a realistic fiction book, how it's a made-up character. David's a made-up character, but could things he's doing actually happen? We're going to talk about that at the end. Okay? So David Goes to School by David Shannon. There's his teacher. David's teacher always said, "No, David, no yelling, no pushing, no running in the halls." David, you're tardy. And tardy means late. He's late to school. Is that something that could really happen? Sit down, David. Don't chew gum in class. David, raise your hand. That little girl's face. Keep your hands to yourself. All right, I hope you're thinking about the problem here. Could that actually happen? Do these pictures match the story? Is this setting real? Well, the setting's in a school, so yep, it's real. Pay attention. Wait your turn, David. Got him. Look at David just strolling right up in the line. I don't care who started it. David, recess is over. Shh. What's he doing here? Looks like he's playing drums on his book in the library. Is that something that might actually happen? Yep. Does this story have a believable problem? Yep. Pictures match the story? Yep. Setting is real? Yep. The author writes about the characters? Yes. That's what makes this a realistic fiction book. Again. That's it, mister. You're staying after school. David, have you finished? Looks like he's finished. Good job, David. Yes, David, you can go home. Okay, so I think we see why this is a realistic fiction book. It could actually happen. I hope not, but it could actually happen. The story does have a believable problem. The pictures do match the story. The setting is real, and the author's writing about the characters. So yes, this is a realistic fiction book. Let me see where, I want to show you where his dog is. Every time you read a David Shannon book, you can look for his dog. Let me find it. I'm not positive where it is in this one. Let me see. He's usually kind of hidden. Uh-oh, I'm not seeing it. I might have to look later. Oh, there he is. He's when he wrote on the desk. That's his dog. And he hides a picture in every book he writes of his dog. Isn't that cool? Okay, so you took notes about what realistic fiction is. We read an example of realistic fiction. I'm also going to post an anchor chart in our Google Classroom of realistic fiction. And remember, an anchor chart's just a fancy word for a poster. It's kind of like a poster that would be hanging up if you were here at JJ. Now, I want to talk about your assignment. Okay, let's go back down here. And I want to talk about our assignment, because your assignment today for realistic fiction is to read a story in your reading book called The Dream Catcher. It's called The Dream Catcher. And there's a video. I posted a video on how to find. It's actually in your reading textbook. And I posted a video on how to find that. Okay? Then after you read The Dream Catcher, you will open up your slideshow and you're going to give me 2 examples of why The Dream Catcher, how you know it's realistic fiction. Okay? Now, for practice, we're going to do this over the book we just read, David Goes to School. Okay? David Goes to School. This is just an example. You're going to do your Google slide for The Dream Catcher. Now, pretty much every single page that we looked at tells us it's realistic fiction, right? Let's look at this one right here. Whenever he doesn't keep his hands to himself. Keep your hands to yourself. Okay. Let's see. Give an example of how you know this is realistic fiction. David does not keep his hands to himself during art. Now notice I have a complete sentence there. I'm using a capital letter and I'm using a period. Now that's not all I can say about this. The setting is real. It's at a school. The setting is real. It is at school. Now let's look at another page. Again, there's tons of these you could do. You could daydream. Let's do cutting in line in the cafeteria. Here is David cutting in a line in the cafeteria. And that setting is in the cafeteria, so that also works. David cuts in line in the cafeteria. That could actually happen. David is a made-up character. Oops. Okay. Actually, I put more than 2 there, but there were lots and lots of examples in this book about how it is realistic fiction. Okay. Lots and lots of examples. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to go into our textbook, read The Dreamcatcher, and then go to your Google Slides and give me 2 ways you know The Dreamcatcher is realistic fiction. Please make sure you use complete sentences with capital letters and periods. Okay? Well, let me know if you have any questions.